Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And the really scary thing about South Africa is how completely compromised the entire judicial system is. And worse than compromised is the now completely collapsed South African police service. Now, tonight, at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time, I'm going to be talking to not only Flippy van Dijk, who was a victim of attack by 20 policemen who have yet to be charged. This happened last year, nearly a year ago now. And it just reflects how completely cactus the police service has become. And joining us tonight at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time on lovinglifetv.com and our Loving Life YouTube channels are LCB Join from Patriots for Minorities, who are doing a fantastic job in alerting the courts and giving a voice to people who have been basically kicked to the curb by the police service in South Africa and the judicial system in South Africa. It's a complete and utter joke. You know, there's no justice in South Africa. It's now a racist organization. And when I say racist, it's basically targeting the minority populations. And in particular, the white people of South Africa are in the headlights of the government, the ANC government, and their little departments like the South African Police Service and the judicial system. And if you think I'm talking crap, that's up to you. But let me tell you why I'm saying this. While dedicated South African police service members like Sergeant Catherine Gladi worked hard to ensure serial rapist Sello Mapunya is imprisoned for life, South African police service's top leadership is riven with deadly divisions and deep-rooted corruption which threatens the well-being of the country. And just yesterday there was a report that over R1 billion related to the personal protective equipment that was in the domain of the South African Police Service has been stolen. This is under Bekesele, the Minister of Police, the man we call the Hlaudi Motsoeneng of the current ANC ministry. He's that damn useless. Anyway, let's continue. There is no time for business as usual, as revealed earlier this year regarding an internal audit that found that the South African Police Service had blown 1.6 billion rand in irregular personal protective equipment expenditure. On this channel, on Loving Life, we have looked at the links between the underworld and South African Police Service officers, and which cost anti-gang unit members Charles Kinnear his life. Kinnear was assassinated outside his home. He was deeply involved in investigating colleagues implicated in issuing fraudulent firearm licenses to known criminals. Today, Kinnear is dead, and those who were involved in his murder are still roaming around the place, big smiles on their faces. A couple of them apparently have been tracked down, but they're the minor players. It's the guys at the top of the South African Police Service who are actually the real gangsters in chief. The murder has exposed the deep divisions and mistrust in the South African Police Service's leadership, with 3 senior officers, AGU head Andre Lincoln, former Crime Intelligence or CI head Peter Jacobs, and Western Cape head of detectives Jeremy Veery, fending off ongoing attempts to sideline them. Jacobs has argued he has been sidelined for exposing corruption in CI, or crime intelligence, amounting, he said in a letter to Sitole, to billions of rands. That Jacobs and the entire top leadership of crime intelligence were suspended and then served with a disciplinary notice for alleged 500,000 rands worth of personal protective equipment irregularity smacks of hypocrisy. 1.6 billion rand in wasteful expenditure has been exposed in the internal audit, and there appears to have been no consequences. Jacobs submitted a Treasury note as part of his evidence that no transgressions had taken place. All the disciplinary processes instituted by the South African Police Service and Sitole have been overturned by the Labour Court. The latest is that Very is facing dismissal for Facebook posts. This is the best that management can do. This appears to be about nothing other than a fight for power in the South African Police Service. We have covered evidence given to the Zondo Commission of Inquiry that the South African Police Service Crime Intelligence, or CI, Secret Service account was abused over a period of more than 10 years to the point of bankruptcy. We have reported on how CI was weaponized to target opponents and to cook up evidence to get rid of them, using millions of rands of taxpayers' money. Richard Mhluli, the former head of CI, faces numerous criminal charges. It is common cause that Mhluli treated the secret account as a personal bank account. He also used the division to employ scores of relatives and other agents, many of whom remain employed today. National Commissioner Kela Sitole himself faces an inquiry into his fitness to hold office after a scathing court finding on the classification of documents in the Nasrec grabber scandal, while being locked in an unseemly battle with Police Minister Beke Cele. At least 20 senior police have appeared in court on charges of corruption, and the battle between former crime intelligence head Peter Jacobs and Sitole over Jacobs' suspension makes regular headlines. Lieutenant General Frakina Zuma, Divisional Commissioner, Financial Management Administration, who investigated Jacobs for alleged personal protection equipment procurement irregularities, is herself facing a probe by the DPCI. Vuma was exorciated by the High Court for using the classified excuse more than 13 times in her attempt to ward off an investigation by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. Journalists reporting on the South African Police Service's internal leadership battles have been monitored, followed, and harassed. In one instance, a reporter's home was broken into in March, a day after an unsigned information note was circulated in the South African Police Service recommending an investigation into certain journalists, including this particular person. Only this journalist's work computers were taken by the glove-wearing intruders, clearly seeking to unmask the people who are blowing the whistle on what's going on in the South African Police Service. The man fielding questions from the media and who is caught in the middle of all this is Brigadier Vish Naidu, National South African Police Service spokesperson, who does a crisp job providing standard responses to queries by saying, "Sorry, internal matter, we don't discuss this." Naidu's job is to try to limit collateral damage, reply to an endless stream of accusations made against the South African Police Service and its members and leadership, and to guide the media on possible inaccuracies. Naidu and the South African Police Service have missed many opportunities to blow their own trumpet with some of the major successes South African Police Service has managed to accomplish in impossible warlike circumstances in the midst of this crisis. Like Sergeant Tali, who headed the investigation into serial rapist Selo Mapunya, this would go a long way to piecing together the shards of broken confidence in the South African Police Service. When former Brigadier Kobus Prinsloo was sentenced to 20 years in jail for selling about 9,000 firearms to gangsters, the South African Police Service could have congratulated the members of Operation Impi, led by Veery, who bust the gun-running ring. Veteran cops Veery and Jacobs are mentioned on almost every single page of Mark Shaw's latest book, Give Us More Guns, which sets out how South African Police Service's own weapons fuel a deadly war on the Cape Flats, claiming lives daily. Yet the South African Police Service does not claim these victories. What's more, South African Police Service officials are now annoyed because the draft audit report exposes 1.6 billion rand in irregular expenditure as investigated by the Division Supply Chain Management. The report has been authenticated as genuine, naming Lieutenant General Avashoni Ramakosi as CFO. He is not named in the report. According to the South African Police Service's website, Naidu has, however, pointed out that Ramakosi has been suspended, and Major General Puleng Dimpani was appointed to the position in 2019, so it would be he who would have received correspondence and not Ramakosi. From his side, though, Ramakosi was implicated in a series of questionable contracts with forensic data analysis. These were the shocking findings by South African Police Service's own internal audit report. We aim to make it public, and should South African Police Services choose to engage with the media now, that is good. While South African Police Services could have spun it that the audit committee had in fact done its job and found possible fraud and corruption, the fact remains that we're talking about 1.6 billion rand in wasted and irregular expenditure in just 6 months. South Africans got the message a long time ago, something that has to be done with our policing in South Africa. South African Police Services had better get that message soonest. President Ramaphosa and Minister Bekesele better get the message now. I'm going to show you an image of Petrus Sito with a placard, which kind of sums up what a lot of people in South Africa are thinking. Now remember, on the 3rd and 4th of June, we're going to be covering live Petrus Sito during the day, South African time, in Senegal, when he is actually covering the bail application of these thugs who murdered Brendan Horner. And look, this happened months ago, but this is just, it's like an irritated sore, just building, boiling, getting worse. This is what's happening with South Africa with the justice system. It's just a mess. It's like everything else the ANC touch. It's a complete and utter friggin' disaster. No wonder the Boerfolk are now claiming freedom, being free burgers from this complete and absolute disaster known as the ANC government. I'm going to leave it at that, guys, but please remember to subscribe to Loving Life on YouTube. And more importantly, please remember to register on lovinglifetv.com, which is going to be our new platform going forward. And we're going to be joined by a huge number of YouTube channels who, like us, have integrity and are absolutely full of YouTube censorship. I'm going to leave it at that. Please like this video, please share this video, and above all, please stay safe. And don't forget, 8 p.m. tonight, Johannesburg time, I'm going to be talking to Flippy van Dijk and people from the minorities, Patriots for Minorities group, who are supporting people who have been totally screwed over by the judicial system in South Africa.